Hello everyone. So I am back with part 3 of the workshop. Sorry that this has taken a little longer to get done than what I would have liked. I had a lot of Jane memoirs pre-orders that I had to fill, and I'm still filling them. The registered letter stamp had sold out for a second time, so for those of you who might still be waiting to receive your order, I'm hoping to get those shipped out next week as soon as Blue Fern gets in the third shipment of that stamp from that collection. It's been a huge success, and I just want to thank everyone for your amazing support. Thank you so much. And so now I'm working on the next new collection for Blue Fern. Okay, so before we get started with the workshop, I just wanted to show you all some of the stamps that I did get in. I ordered a few of these, and I'll order more if I happen to sell out. And the time frame, if I do have to reorder these, is going to be about 10 days or so from the time that I order it to the time that I receive it, just to give you all an idea. So I'll go ahead and show you some of these stamps. I will be using these later on in the workshop. And with these stamps, I really like them because they're all kind of like script stamps and ledger type stamps. And I know that a lot of you probably don't have the antique stamps like what you saw me using. So I thought in place of those, and I'll be using some of these as well. I thought that, these would be perfect for what I plan on doing later on with the journals and in the workshop. But as you can see, this one has a little bird on it, which is perfect. It's got that nice ledger look to it. And then this is just some typed text. So anyway, there's these new stamps, and I'll probably stamp some of these onto some paper so you can see what they all look like. And this is kind of nice. It's got the feathers. Again, I thought this would tie in really good with the Winged Elements collection and the Parisian Charm. So you get one of these in a set. And then this is a stencil, and it's again perfect because it's got the foliage, and that ties in really good with the Winged Elements. Okay, so I only got one other package to share with all of you before we get started on the workshop, and I think this is another antique stamp. So I thought I would share this with all of you and see what I got in the mail this time. I think I only have a few more antique stamps than I'm expecting. Okay, so yes, this one was from an Etsy shop, Simply Bungalow. And this one I loved too because it's got that paid and then a date and a check number. So I thought that these would work really cool on receipts and, yeah, making a collage like of a receipt, the ledger type thing. And I want to go back to playing with more of that. So that's, again, why I ordered these stamps, so all of you could play along with me. If you want these, I'm going to list these currently available, but if I sell more than what I have in stock here, I will list it as a pre-order. All right, let's go ahead and let's get started. Well, first, let's see what the stamp looks like. Why not, right? Let's see here. I'm just going to stick with my red pad here because like I said, it's the one I kind of contaminated. I don't know what ink I got on there that was on the old stamp, but my ink pad is pretty much destroyed from it. Oh yeah, that is pretty cool. I like it. So it's that paid. I might have to, you know what? I would love to hear your thoughts because I am hopefully going to be doing new designs, new stamp designs here pretty soon. What do you guys think? You know, I'm buying all these antique stamps. So what would all of you think if I designed a stamp set similar to these? You know, one that said like paid and like this special price $1.50 and just kind of a whole set like this. I mean, is this something that you guys would find interesting? Just out of curiosity. I could even do something that maybe says receipt and this down here, like a stamp that looks like a receipt or something like that. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear. All right, let's go ahead and let's get started with the workshop. Okay, so what I thought I would do is those parchment bags that we made in the previous part of the workshop. I thought it would be really fun to take some of those napkins that I was showing all of you and decoupage the parchment paper bags with these napkins. So I'm just kind of laying out the pattern, trying to see what sections of the napkin I want to take and tear from to adhere to my paper bag or my parchment bag. And you know, I've never really done this on parchment before. I've never decoupaged with a napkin before. So this is actually my first time trying this. And you know, my mom, she just kept saying how much fun she was having with it and that I had to try it, and it was so much better than rice paper because I actually purchased quite a bit of Stamperia rice papers, and I have so many more rice papers that I have to list on my site. So if any of you are wanting the Stamperia rice papers, I have many, and I have a few in the Ciao Bella as well. And they're really beautiful rice papers. So yeah, I'm trying so hard to get everything listed, and I have so many wonderful things like inventory that I have been wanting to get on my site, and I'm behind on my newsletter, and I'm just behind, and I have some new design work that I'm doing for Blue Fern, and the date, you know, it's just been pushed up, and then I have some new Carabelle designs that I'm working on, and everything's just been kind of crazy. So if you're looking for any of those, I think I do have some on the site, and I have quite a few in stock. Okay, so after I got done decoupaging my parchment bag there, I did put the jar of the gel medium I was using, and that was the Prima gel medium, and I put it inside the parchment bag to kind of have it hold the shape. So that's what I did there. I thought it would be fun to continue with decoupaging and apply some of the napkin pieces to these receipts. Again, just, you know, trying to do something different, because with these receipts, I normally would just take my spill splatter stencil them up a bit, maybe stamp a few things on there, but I've not ever really decoupaged receipts or anything. So, you know, this is something different for me, and I hope you all find it fun as well. And if you didn't catch my previous videos of this workshop, I did get all of these napkins at Tuesday morning. I did want to make a comment because my mom brought it to my attention that Tuesday morning, she had heard that Tuesday morning was possibly filing bankruptcy, and I think they needed like 15 million or something like that. And so for all of you who love Tuesday morning, just putting the word out there that they really could use that support right now, and these napkins it's a wonderful place to go to stock up on these napkins. And after I did this decoupaging with the napkins, I loved it. In fact, I wish I would have just kept all the packages that I had in my cart. I had so much more than what I came home with, because yeah, I think I'll be doing a lot of this. It just turned out so well, and it applies, the napkins apply so nicely to whatever it might be, whether it's the parchment or these receipts, or maybe, coffee, tea stained papers. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that, yeah, Tuesday morning could really use our support right now. So, if you're looking for some paint supplies, or God, they have everything. Even if you just want to go there and get some goodies or some pillows, blankets, some decor. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I put that out there because I love Tuesday morning. I love all the craft stores. I love Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's. I I shop at all of them, and Tuesday morning, I'd hate to see any of those stores close. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So if any of you are near Tuesday morning and you love it, yeah, they really, really could use our help right now. And right now I'm just looking for some of the script part of the napkin. Now, if you don't have these napkins and you want to recreate a similar look, you could take and do a flower stamp and then just take some watercolors and do that. I did, after I got done decoupaging with the napkins, I did take these receipts and I laid them under some heavy books because I wanted them to dry flat, and that worked perfectly. You do want to make sure that it's dry because you don't want it sticking to your books or whatever you're laying down over it, but it did work really good. I just left them overnight, and then the next day worked with them, and they were perfectly straight. So again, had too much fun decoupaging with those. And now what I did is one of the embellishments, the shorter embellishment, I thought it would be kind of fun to take one of my Parisian charm designs, this one that has the pages that look like they're flipped up. I wanted to work with that section and use that for the top part of my embellishment. So I'm just measuring the width of my embellishment, which is about 3 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches in height. And what I did is I cut down my paper so that it would be centered on my embellishment. And I took about, I would say about a 1/16 of an inch off from each side from that total 3 3/4 inch. And you'll see where I just kind of took a little extra off each side because I didn't want it to cover up all of the black. And now you can see if it's on there perfectly. So now I just need to trim that top section there to size. And I thought, I wanted to make sure I didn't take too much off the top. I wanted that flower there. And I, again, just trying to make sure I had it to where it would be positioned perfectly on my embellishment. And then what I'm going to do is cut up where it looks like that page is flipped up. So I'm just taking out that white triangular section there. And then I'm going to take and cut it up the middle. And what I'm going to do is create some flaps. Now, because I printed this on standard copy paper, it wasn't quite heavy enough or durable enough, so I'm going to take and glue each piece down onto 110-pound white cardstock. So it's heavier cardstock. Before I do that, I'm going to measure from the edge and go in 1/2 inch and make a mark. And this 1/2 inch is going to be my hinge that I'm going to create. So I need that hinge to create my flap for my embellishment. And so what I'm going to do next here is take and glue down that entire piece. And I do want to make sure that I'm getting those edges really good, because I don't want any of the corners or anything to lift up. So you do want to make sure that if you're having to glue this onto a heavier cardstock because your printer won't accept heavier cardstock. Some printers tend to jam when you try to print with heavier cardstock. Mine will do it. I just wasn't sure how I was going to be working with these papers and thought this might be something that I would use as a lined journal page. But as you know, and as you can see, things change and my ideas change. And sometimes I might even take and pull things apart, which is what you're going to see me do here shortly, because I come up with new ideas as this whole process, the whole journey of journal making takes form. And so now what I need to do is I need to score where my hinge is going to be, so I can take and fold that and attach it to my embellishment. Now, because I didn't know, or I didn't plan on creating this, I realized that in order for me to attach that hinge to the embellishment, I have to actually pull apart both of those pieces to allow enough room for that hinge to fit in between those two pieces. And I just had to pull it apart enough, just enough to get that, the length of that part that is the hinge, so it would slide in all the way, as you can see there. And then I'm going to do the same with the other piece for the other side. So again, I'm going in 1/2 inch and making my mark for where I want my hinge to be. And I'm going to glue down that entire piece onto the heavier cardstock. You don't have to use white cardstock. You could use black, pink, green, brown, purple, whatever you want. I mean, the papers that you see me using, you can do something totally different. In fact, I had a lady who was following along and she emailed me, Kim, I'm talking about you. She showed me what she had done and it was just beautiful, beautiful work. But she, put her own, she kind of did her own thing with it, and it was great to see how she took her style and made it her own. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun to see how she was making her journals, or what she took from the workshop in creating, her journal through this whole process. I really cannot talk. But you guys get what I'm trying to say, right? My days lately. The Jane's memoirs, as I was talking about earlier, has kind of been somewhat, it's been a true blessing in the success of it. And it wouldn't have been the success that it was without all of you. And many of you follow Gail, some of you follow Rosa Kelly, some of you follow Genevieve. And it's just been, the support has just been, like I said, it's made all that hard work so worth it. The thing of it is with all this tremendous support that you have all shown, and I am so grateful. Yeah, the stamps, the registered letter stamp, it had sold out for a second time. So I only got half of my order. And I know that there's a lot of you really excited to get your order, and I do hope to have those shipped out next week as soon as Blue Fern sends them my way. So I do want to let you all know that, they're coming. And again, thank you so much for just the incredible support. Okay, so what you see me doing here is I'm taking my hole punch and I'm just kind of eyeballing about, where I want to place each, hole with the hole punch to run the ribbon through as a way to hold those flaps closed. If I wasn't trying to, I guess when you're trying to instruct, like with these videos, it's really hard. I'm constantly jumbling up my words, and it gets exhausting. I don't know. Some people are really, really good at it, and I guess it's still a work in progress with me. I enjoy doing them. I just hope you all enjoy listening to me. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking a paper clip. I decided that I didn't want to glue the flower down, and I wanted it so I could just, take the paper clip and attach it to one of the flaps there on my Embella clip. And so what I'm going to do is just glue that paper clip on there and then set it to the side to let it dry. So I'm grabbing another one of my designs from the Parisian Charm collection, and I'm going to fussy cut out this lady. And I have another one of the Embella clips that we did, I think it was in part 1 of the workshop. And so I just want to, kind of cut things, fussy cut around some of those flowers, give them some shape, but have it to where it fits nicely on my Embella clip there. And so when if you haven't been following along and you haven't started creating your journal yet, when you're creating your Embella clips there, as you'll be able to see, it really doesn't matter what cardstock you're going to use, because chances are you're going to cover it up. So you could use solid colored cardstock. You could use just some cardstock that maybe you don't even like, and it's this, that would be a great way to use it, is in making the Embella clip and then going back through and where you decorate it, you're not going to see that cardstock that you used underneath, maybe just bits of it here and there. And to give that dimension, again, I fussy cut out some of the flowers. I had a little scrap piece of flower there that I, kind of tucked in on the side there, and now I'm just kind of figuring out how I want to arrange everything. I thought the piece left over from before where we just did the flaps, taking that leftover paper, I thought that would work nicely on here. So I cut that to the Embella clip size, and then I'm taking this cotton eyelet lace and I'm going to lay that down first because I love those textures, and that's that extra piece that was left over that I'm using there. And I probably could have cut my eyelet lace better, and instead of covering up that left edge there, I could have cut all that off and used that for something else just to get more use out of it, where I could have had that strip and stamped on it or something like that. So when you're making yours, that's something you might want to consider. And now I'm just figuring out how I want to layer all of this before I glue it down. And sometimes when I glue these pieces down, like with the flowers, if I use glue, I usually just put a few dots here and there in the middle because, again, most of the time I don't like things glued straight flat down. Unless it's the first layer, then yes, then I usually like to have it all glued down. But when I start building my layers, those second, third layers, I'm just applying a little bit of glue or a foam square or foam dot and having it so it lifts up from that first layer, like you can see with those flowers that I fussy cut, just to give it that 3D effect. I just think it creates so much more visual interest than having everything just, glued and smashed down onto a page. But that's just me. I mean, that's the way I like to do everything. I know a lot of other people do take into consideration how bulky things get. So, when you are building your layers, that is one thing to consider when you go to place it in your journal. How much extra bulk is it going to create? And the thing with the embellishments and things like that, because they're things that you can usually remove or take out from the journal, those are things or components of a journal that I like to really, add those special touches to and layers and so forth. And so I'm just adding a little bow and I think it's done. Okay, so here I am back to that first embellishment where we created the flaps, and I did allow the paper clip to dry on the back of that flower, and I just attached it to a side of one of the flaps. Now going back to the parchment paper bag that we did, and now that my decoupage is dry, I decided to add some more textures to it. So I'm taking some leftover trims that I have, just some pieces here and there, and I'm going to take one of the sentiments, round my corners, and adhere that onto the parchment bag here. And then I'm going to take some of my worn lipstick, here we go, I'm all tongue-tied, the worn lipstick Distress Oxide, try saying that like really fast, and I'm just distressing the edges of some of those ephemera pieces, and I'm going to distress the edges of my paper bag and all of that. I did take and used some of my vintage photo as well. I wanted more of a distressed edge, and so I liked the combination of the worn lipstick and then going over that with the vintage photo. It just gave it this perfect color. And you'll see that a little bit here as I, go further into this project. And so again, I'm just using those foam squares that I get from the Dollar Tree. I love these things. I use them so much, and they're wonderful because you can lightly lay it down onto whatever you're working on, whatever piece you're working on, and if you decide to reposition it, it allows you to do that. And then when you are sure you want it to be adhered to your page, you can just push it down, give a little pressure, and it sticks really good. And now I'm just taking my antique stamps that I love. Oh, I just so love these, and just kind of playing here with some stamping and again, as I said earlier, I'd love to hear your comments on doing a stamp collection of, like that little price mark stamp and just some different things, maybe confidential, but with my own little twist to it. If you'd love to see something like that, let me know. I'd love to hear your comments on that. I'm always wondering, what should I create next? I mean, I always love to do whimsical and surrealism type artwork with some of my stamps, especially ones that I do for Carabelle, but every once in a while I'm thinking, geez, I wish I really had a stamp like this or had one like that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. The other thing, I still have not heard from any of the winners from that gnome video, that giveaway that I did for the 2 words gnomish and zombiness. And I have these wonderful mystery boxes filled with Prima items and some Carabelle items and some Crafter's Companion items. Yeah, but I haven't heard from any of you. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, that's my name, Catherine, Lauren, Marla, please get in touch with me so I know where to ship your items. Catherine, I might be able to track you down, but yeah, just get in touch with me so I can be sure to get your mystery boxes to you. I'm excited for you to get your prizes. So okay, so I'm still just kind of messing around with some of these bits and pieces of trim that I have. I hate wasting my trim, and I'm always trying to figure out, how I can use these little pieces here and there, and they do add a lot. As you can see, just those little pieces, those little flowers add so much. And so what I'm doing is I'm kind of creating a frame going around that remember sentiment with the trim, and then I decided to pull off the pearl that I had in that flower piece there, and I put one of the flower trim pieces in the center of that flower. And now I'm taking some crocheted lace and I'm going to apply that to the top of my bag. Now I haven't decided with my paper bag how I'm going to place it inside my journal. I did realize that when I made my parchment bag, I didn't take into consideration the width, and when I was planning things out ahead, it is a little bit too wide for the pages that I've done so far, so I'm going to show ways that you can correct that, and that'll probably be other parts coming up as we start to put all of these components that we've been building together in our signature pages. But when you do create your parchment bags, that's one thing you want to keep in mind is the width. And if you're going to have it positioned upright, or if you're going to fold it, those are all things you want to consider when you're decorating your parchment bag. Okay, so I decided for my smaller embellishment there with the flower, and it's got the paper clip attached to the back of the flower, I decided it would be fun to do an insert for the inner section of my embellishment. So I'm just measuring a piece, that's the width of my embellishment, and I had that leftover piece of lined paper from my Parisian Charm collection there that we used in creating the flaps. That was a leftover piece, and I thought it would be fun to take and lay that down on some heavier cardstock, so later on if someone goes and they journal on it, they can just pull that piece out and you have this durable cardstock that you can write on. And again, just adding another decorative, interactive component to your journal. Just kind of like the looks of it. And it's ways of using these scraps. I love to find ways of using scraps of paper. I got in a habit of collecting it all, and now I have boxes and bins filled with all these leftover scraps that I never seem to use. So I've been trying to get in a habit of using more of my scraps, and I thought this was a great way to incorporate it in with this project, you know, how to use up some of these scraps that you'll probably have left over when making these pieces that I've shown you so far. And again, just taking some bits of trim just to add a little more decorative elements. I'm attaching that trim to my flower because that flower again has the paper clip to where you can remove it, and then my flaps will still open. You want to be sure that you keep those in mind. You don't want to glue anything down to your flaps because you want your flaps to open. So again, if you're going to go off and do your own thing, one thing to consider is, you know, don't glue anything down to those flaps if you want them to open back up again. And there we have that little insert piece for our umbrella clip. And I'll probably attach this to the gatefold signature page that we did in part 1 is what I'm thinking. So now I decided to take that ephemera piece, the number 7 there, and I just punched a few holes. I have some leftover chain, and I'm going to run that through those holes that I punched. And I decided I was going to put this on the paper bag or the parchment bag, but I decided to use it on something else, which I will be showing you here in a second. I try not to cut too much out from the video because I want you to see how I might have something in mind and I might be going in a certain direction and then it just changes course. And another idea will pop up and I find a better way of using something. But that's how things, you know, seem to come about in the whole journey of journal making or whatever it might be. You might start with one thing, and then as you get going, an idea pops up and you're thinking, oh wait, I have this better idea. And so what I'm doing here is you can see where I'm taking one of the ladies from the Parisian Charm papers and I fussy cut her out. And then I have one of the other line papers from the Parisian Charm digital collection. And I'm going to create a pocket. So I'm going to use one of those circle ephemera pieces to create that pocket. And I thought I would use that lady and put her on top. I liked that, again, I like that layered effect, that layered look. I didn't want it to just be this simple little circular pocket. So that's what gave me this idea, and I loved how that number 7 just kind of, I was able to incorporate that. Now as I got going, I came up with another idea, but I wanted to show you this because you can create a pocket as you see here, but it's not what I end up doing. I thought it would be kind of cool because that circle ephemera piece there, it fits perfectly inside the CD little envelope cover or CD covers. And so I'm going to place that, glue that inside of that CD cover there. And again, it fit just perfectly. And then I thought that I might take and layer my lady with the lace and the 7 over that envelope, but That's not what I decided to do, but you can do that, and that's why I showed in the video, because maybe you like that better than what you see me do here in a little bit. I decided to decorate another one of the hidden paper clips, and so I'm taking some of the white cardstock, and it was about 3.5 inches in width, and then I would say it was probably about 8 inches in height, and I just folded it in half. And so I set that piece aside, and I went back to this CD case here, and I wanted to use one of those stamps that I showed in the beginning of the video and just add that script look to my CD case, because it was so stark white and I just wasn't liking it. It needed something, and so this script stamp seemed to work perfectly. And then I take some of my Distress Oxide in the Worn Lipstick and Vintage Photo just to kind of age it a little bit. Again, to take away from that stark white, look. And so here you can see I'm just distressing those edges. I do go back with my Vintage Photo. I didn't show it there, but I do go over it with some Vintage Photo as well. And now I have that piece of white cardstock. Again, I cut it about 3.5 inches width by 8 inches in height, and I just folded it in half. And I'm layering that girl that I fussy cut and some trim down onto that. Here's where I go with the Vintage Photo. And as you can see, I love the combination of the Worn Lipstick with the Vintage Photo. It worked perfectly with this project. That color of the pink and, but the Vintage Photo kind of ages it. And so I'm just distressing all these little pieces here. I don't know if you guys can hear my Chihuahua snoring in the background. He is out. Like, it's his bedtime. He has a pretty set schedule, but yeah, he's snoring away. And I'm just cutting down some of this trim to fit onto my piece of white cardstock. And I will attach this to one of those hidden paper clips that we made in the first part of, it was either the first or second part. But again, this is a great journal or workshop in all those scraps that you might have, whether it be cardstock, trim, ephemera pieces. This is a great workshop to use all of that stuff that you might have. Broken chain, broken jewelry. There's just so many different things that you could use to decorate these hidden paper clips. Buttons, you could do beads, dangles. Well, there's the charms. I will be adding those later on because we have the paper clip that sticks up through the top where you have that loop. So I will be taking some jump rings and adding some charms to the top of my hidden paper clips. And these will be sticking up above your journal. So, if you're worried about bulkiness or things like that, it is something that attaches to the top of your journal. So that paper clip with the charm and all of that, that will not be inside the journal. It will be up above your journal. So, it's a great way to add those little decorative elements without creating all that bulk. And it's something I tend to have very bulky journals, but I like them that way. That's just the way I like them. It's kind of a junk journal / art journal slash maybe even planner. I do a hybrid of everything. I just, that's what's great about journal making is you can do so many different things with a journal. You could even do, if you want to add in some scrapbook pages, depending upon how big you want your journal to be. I mean, anything pretty much goes with journal making. And I think that's why so many people love it. It's just, you can incorporate cards, tags, you're making tags. There's just so many things that you can do. You can take your works of art and incorporate them. It's something my mom and I both, we just love. And this was one of the first things that we did where we just didn't ever get tired of it. We've tried a lot of things. I think I mentioned in a previous video we did domino necklaces. Like we did maybe 2,000-3,000 domino necklaces for a trade show or a fair, or what do they call that? What am I trying to think of? Not a trade show. I have carnival stuck in my head. It's not a carnival. One of those things, a bazaar that we did for kind of like a big bazaar. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I've already said this, but we can't look at another domino to this day. It's just, and I have a whole box of domino necklaces left. If you guys want some domino necklaces that we've done, please holler, because I am more than happy to give some away. I really am. They're just sitting in a box. They've been in a box for probably 5 years now, 6 years. But yeah. So now I took some tulle and I applied that underneath and just kind of cut some layers there to give some movement. And I'm just applying some more trim to the back of my clip there and the flower. Just adding more layers. And if you have been following along, and you're making some of these projects that I've been showing in the workshop, I would love to see some pictures. I would just love it. So yeah, please share. I love seeing what all of you make, and sometimes I just don't have time to respond. I try to respond to each and every single email. I really do, but sometimes I miss some. Things have been extremely crazy at the moment, but I really do my best to reply to every message. If I don't get back to you the first time, shoot me another message. If I don't get back to you a second time, shoot me a third message. I've had people do it. I don't mind. I really don't. So here's where we made the hidden paper clip, and I'm just gluing it down onto my white piece of cardstock there. And the reason I did that is I just wanted to make it a little bigger. So now it can go over my CD sleeve there. So now I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I want to build this signature page. And I have these leftover pieces of cardstock, and again, I'm really trying to use these scraps. So what I did is I took one of the pieces of cardstock and measured it to my journal page that's going to go inside that cardstock signature page there. And I'm taking another piece, that green piece of cardstock, for the other side of my main signature. And I'm going to attach both of those. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking one of the edges and I'm scoring it at 1/4 of an inch. And I want to make sure that it folds because, I'm going to take and fold this in half to create my signature page. But I thought it was a way to utilize this extra cardstock that I used And, I didn't want to just throw it in another bin of all my other pieces of, scrap pieces. And for those of you who have purchased a kit, I wanted to show you how you could get the most utilization with the supplies that came in the kit. And now you can see how my lined journal page will fit inside my signature there. And we'll add more to it. I'll probably add in some coffee stained paper and some envelopes. So to make sure I was able to utilize this wonderful lined paper and journaling space, I'm going to just glue the left and right edge of that top flap of that CD sleeve there to create a pocket. And that pocket, for now, I thought it'd be kind of neat to slide that hidden clip that we just made in it. And then I have this beautiful decorative element to my page. But knowing me, I'll probably change it later down the road. I just want to give you all ideas of how you can build your pages in different ways. And then I'm just adding in some tags. And so on this other side, on the left side, I decided to create a slit. And I'm measuring where the center of my page is. And so the slit that I'm going to create is going to be approximately 2 1/4 inches in width. And I'm doing this to create a vertical flap for my page. Now after I have my line drawn, I'm going to take my small hole punch and punch a hole on each end. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm going to follow along the line that I did to create that opening, that slit there. And then I'm going to go down just a little ways from that first cut. So I'm going to make a second cut going down, and that will create the opening for that vertical flap. And so when I create the vertical flap, I want to make sure that the width of my cardstock, that flap that I create, is going to be sized to go through this slit here. So I do not want it any wider than 2 1/4 of an inch. I probably want it maybe around 2 1/8 of an inch in width. And as you can see, there is my cardstock flap that I'm going to create. And I'm going to put something on the back, you'll see here in a little bit, to prevent it from going down all the way. And for now, I just kind of placed that little ephemera butterfly there, but I will come back to it. So I'm going to move on, and I'm getting near the end part of part 3. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking a paper bag, and I believe all of you got one of these in the kit. And if you didn't, hopefully, you can either go to your dollar store and pick some up there, or you might just have some on hand, or you can make a paper bag with the parchment paper or paper and follow the instructions that I did in this, I think it was part 1 or part 2 of this series. So I just took and cut the bag into 4 pieces, and those 2 middle pieces are about 1.5 inches in width, and then I have that top piece of my bag. And now I'm going to take one of my Parisian charm designs, and I'm going to cut it so it will fit inside that bottom pocket, that bottom section of the paper bag there. And I really liked the ledger part of this design, so I'm just figuring out, how I want to cut this down so it fits inside that bottom section of my paper bag. And it's about 3.5 inches to 4 inches in width. You know, you kind of want to look at what size of paper bag you're using. You can see where I took one of the sections of the paper bag to determine the width. And then I'm going to round my corners and glue it so I create a pocket. So I'm only gluing the sides and the bottom because I want to maintain that pocket there. And then I'm going to take one of the middle sections of that paper bag, so it's the one that's about 1 to 1.5 inches in width, or no, I mean height. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it will be about 1 and 1.5 inches in height. And I'm just, again, using some of my leftover cardstock is what you see. And I'm going to just take a strip of it and adhere it to one of those middle sections of the paper bag that we cut. And just distressing everything. For certain projects like this, I really don't like the white edges, so yeah, I want to make sure I distress all those edges. And then this I'm going to glue all the way down, so it won't be like the previous one where we created a pocket. This piece I'm gluing down entirely, and it's just to create a decorative element to my paper bag here. Okay, now when I glue this to the bottom section of my paper bag, I'm only going to glue the bottom left and right side, just enough for it to adhere to that bottom portion of my paper bag. Now don't worry about the back, because the back's going to be attached to a different page, a signature page. But I wanted to create these pockets with you know, like these cascading pockets with this paper bag, and that's why I did it this way. Again, just I'm always trying to do different things, new things, and you know, try to take a paper bag and see how I can use it in a different way. So maybe there's an easier way of doing this or a better way of doing this, but it was just an idea, and I thought it'd be a great way to use up some of those scraps of papers and cardstock, and just, yeah, and creating, I mean, it's going to create like 8 pockets. So you'll be able to place a lot of tags in these pockets, or you can place note pieces of note paper or journal cards. And then again, I'm just going to glue that bottom left and right edge there. And adhere it to the back, just trying to make sure I line everything up really nicely. And then I have my top piece. And I'm just doing the same thing, just kind of playing here, seeing how I might want to use up some of these scraps, and kind of stuck with this gold and pink tone theme. I kind of liked the looks of it. But yeah, again, you'll see how this will fit nicely on one of the cardstock signature pages. So when you're looking at the back of this paper bag here, just kind of don't pay any attention to it at this point. It's all going to be covered up when we lay it down on our signature page. So we're just kind of worrying about the front and decorating the front up a little bit, creating our pockets. So with each layer that we glue down, we create a pocket, and then we have the inner pocket, and that's where we get our 8, I think it's going to be like 8 pockets. And now I'm just taking some of my cotton eyelet trim, and I'm going to decorate the bottom front portion of this paper bag. And I love this cotton trim. I just love it. If you are all interested in trim like this, just reach out to me by email. I have ordered a lot of trim. When I was at Creativation, I met with some suppliers, some wholesalers. I did place an order, and I'm hoping in the next few weeks, offering some lace trims. So that will be a new item I'll start to carry. I have a lot of things that I need to list on my site, and I just haven't had time to do that yet. I've been filling orders and, the new collections, and so I have all this wonderful, beautiful inventory that I really need to get listed on the site. But in the meantime, if you are looking for something, just, again, shoot me an email. I do my best to answer every email I see. Sometimes, though, they get put in my spam or my junk folder. So, if you don't hear back from me, just send me another email. I don't mind. I really don't mind. And I love engaging and connecting with all of you. I don't know how most designers are, but I really, I couldn't do all of this if it wasn't for all of you. And I love just connecting and talking with all of you and sharing our passion for creating things. So yeah, even if you wanted to shoot an email and just say, "Hi, Jen, I did the workshop," and I'll do my best to get back in touch, and I'll send you a hello. And I always try to make extra time for that every day. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking these strips and creating kind of like these little pocket strips to prevent my journal cards and my receipt from sliding all the way down from those pockets we created from the paper bag. So that is all I'm doing, and I'm just gluing the sides, the very bottom, again creating this little pocket strip, and you'll be able to see where I can slide my receipt, the back of my receipt that you're seeing there. It can slide down in there, and then this way it won't slide all the way down the bottom of the paper bag. And I'm just kind of testing it to make sure if I pull it out and I put it back in, that strip catches it. And then I just added some more trim. And I applied the trim on the inside of that pocket section there. But as you can see, it adds so much. Just little bits of trim, scraps of paper. That's pretty much all I did. And I really like the way it turned out. I love all the pockets. And here you can see I'm putting in a few journal cards. I'll probably fill it up with some more things as we get going, but a receipt, the receipts go in there nicely. And now I'm just going to take and apply some glue at the bottom and the sides on the back of that paper bag pocket section that we did, and adhere it to our signature page, the one that we created with the 2 sheets of cardstock. And I love the way it turned out. Now, I did realize on the signature page that I created in part 2, it was a little long, so I'm just cutting off a little piece of that. And I know that some of you had a hard time following it, so I might refold that again just to make it a little clearer, because I know some of you had trouble following that. Okay, so going back to that inner section of our signature page, the one with this vertical flap, I decided to use one of the tags, and I'm just going to glue that onto my flap there. And then I'm going to take a paper clip and glue that on the back of that flap. And I wanted to make sure that I figured out where I wanted to position it on the back of the flap. So whatever I have hanging down, it's not going to hang down below my signature page. So that's one thing to consider when you go to glue that paper clip on the back of that flap there. And then I'm just going to let that dry for a second. And I thought I would attach a postcard. And see, that's where I wanted to make sure my paper clip was up high enough to where my postcard didn't go down below my signature page. All right, well, I think I'm going to call that done for part 3. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all got lots of ideas. I'd love to see if any of you are creating or working along with me in this workshop. I'd love to see some of your pics. I love seeing how you take something and you make it your own. It's very inspiring. So yeah, if you all get a chance, I'd love to see. And as far as part 4 goes, I do plan on filming next week. I hope to get a newsletter out soon. I know I've had a lot of you asking the gnome freebies. I know some of you are waiting on that, and I'm so sorry. I'm so far behind on everything. It's just been crazy busy, but I hope to be back with part 4 next week and a newsletter. And so stay tuned for those. And if you're enjoying the workshop, please continue to let me know, leave your comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you get the notification of when the videos are released. And you can also check out my Facebook page for any updates that are coming. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Sending love, and we'll catch you back with part 4. Thank you so much.